Hello everyone, Brent with venompads.com doing another bridge saw blade tutorial, bridge saw blades for dummies on why cutting fails. The third reason is you did not figure out if the blade is designed for straight cuts and miter cuts or both. So the third thing you have to realize is, are you going to be doing just straight cutting or a combination of straight cutting and miter cutting or only miter cutting? This is really important in preventing a blade to fail. I personally, whenever I cut, if I'm at a shop, I only stick to using 15 millimeter segments, only from a few manufacturers, because not all manufacturers that make 15 millimeter segments are the ones that I'm looking for. So I only use a segment that can straight cut and miter cut when I personally cut. But everyone has their own method. So if you're doing, so here's the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is, and it depends on the manufacturer, but the rule of thumb is this: if you're using a segment 25 millimeters, it can only straight cut. If you're using a segment only 20 millimeters, technically you can only straight cut too with certain materials, but that's where it gets forgiving. With me, from my one manufacturer, the 20 millimeter, I can miter cut sometimes, maybe 5% of the time. So with the 20 millimeter, you could be safe in miter cutting. And like I always say, the safest is the 15 millimeter. So really know if you're straight cutting or miter cutting, because this has a lot to do with it. Because for an example, a segment wears out two ways, up and down and sides. So if you do too much cutting where you're wearing out the sidewalls, eventually the core is going to be flush with the segment. And when that happens, it's going to cause what's called deflecting, where when it's cutting, it's hitting the core and then the blade starts deflecting. And you don't want that, because then you're going to get crooked cuts, or you could kind of break the slab, especially when it comes to decked in or some of the really hybrid type of compact surfaces. And even with porcelain, you start pulling on that blade, it's going to crack the slab, especially at the end of the cut. That's why at the end of the cut, when you're cutting decked in, you want to go slowly out.